I'm here with Robbie E of Impact Wrestling fame. Robbie, you've got quite a bit of stuff going on. Perhaps most interestingly right now, this new podcast with Matt Kuhn. Uh, Tell me how this came about in a world where there are plenty of podcasts. I mean, I have several myself. How you went about doing something completely different like this.
Dude, well, first let me just say I have about like 897 things going on, in addition to being a twin dad, having a traveling wife, and just trying to live a normal life. So that in itself is psychotic, and sometimes I don't know how I do it. But anyway, so when I left Impact Wrestling, I had more free time on my hands. So the first thing that popped in my head was I'm a wrestler, so I got to have a podcast, right? But I thought about it a little more, and I kind of went against the idea because I don't know, I had a real cool idea I wanted to do, but I didn't want people to think now that I have a podcast, maybe that means my wrestling career's done, which it's not because I'm, actively still full-time wrestling. But then a few months later, I hooked up with Court Bauer. I talked to him. I told him my idea. He said it was great. And so I went ahead and still did it. So I met Matt Kuhn, who I think has been doing an amazing job as an editor and my co-host. And he jumped on board. So together we have Why It Ended, which is basically, and like you said, there's so many podcasts out there. How did we want to stand out and be different? And the only reason I wanted to do one is because I had this concept that was different. And it's basically interviewing guys that have vanished or that people don't know their stories or that people have forgotten about. I just want people, when they hear our guests, to kind of just say, holy shit, I forgot about that guy, like whatever happened to him. So whether they had a 2-week run or a 4-month run in 89 or 93 or 2000, whatever, I want to just find random weird people that you forgot existed so people will be intrigued to hear what they have to say. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and your first two guests were Glacier, who we've seen reemerge a little bit over the last year. He was at Joey Janela's spring break and did an ROH taping, but other than that, we've not seen him. And another one was Muhammad Hassan, a guy who I've personally written about 10,000 words on. And there was a lot of stuff in that podcast you all did that I had never even heard in the probably 2 hours that I'd spoken to him. Things like finding out that Stephanie McMahon wasn't too happy with what he had recommended for his character. Like there were just, and The Rock sending him tips via Trish Stratus. There was so much that you all went into that I had never even heard before. I love the concept. What's perhaps the most surprising thing you've heard thus far through your first couple of episodes?
I think the most surprising thing is just how, because again, I want people on, this is more towards Glacier, not Muhammad, because he's a little newer, but I think the best era for this show is going to be like the end years of WCW, because I think there were so many guys there that just kind of like were forgotten about and then disappeared. So like for me, just the whole thing with Glacier was cool. The most surprising thing was just how nice of a human he was. I think he was the nicest guy I've ever met in my entire life.
Yeah, it's been kind of interesting to listen to these first couple of episodes because obviously there were big plans for both of these guys. And
yeah, and there was, and even beyond the big plans for them, I think there was just so many little things along the way with their stories, like Glacier. I didn't even know, and I don't think a lot of people did. I swore that he went right to the power plant and then just was a new wrestler as Glacier. I didn't know he had 10 years prior experience. So there's just so much stuff into the story that, again, like you said, they have Glacier's resurfaced a little bit, and a few people have heard the story on Hassan, but I think there was just so much more to it, you know?
Matt had mentioned on the show that Muhammad was his dream guest. Who's your dream guest?
It's hard to say one person. I do really want to get, only because, again, I feel he hasn't been on a lot of podcasts, I would love to get David Flair on.
Yeah.
I think he would be a really good one with some cool stuff, and a lot of people don't know his story. So I think that would be super cool.
Well, there's that rather scary, controversial story about how his run ended in like Puerto Rico. We won't get into that on this show, but there's some craziness behind that if you want to do some research on that. Just straight up weird stuff with that. So yeah, that's such an underrated and out of left field awesome guest to have on something like that. And I mean, like you all mentioned, Muhammad Hassan's just 38 years old now after being out for 10 years. I don't think David Flair is even 40 yet. I think he just turned 39.
Probably because he was so young when he was doing it, and that's why. And like that, those are the kind of guests we want. People like the way you just reacted, kind of like, wow, that's weird, David Flair.
Yeah.
But I think those are going to be the cool guests of just people where they're like, wow, they really had a lot, a cool story. Let's hear it. Because don't you find that a lot of guys do the same podcast and tell the same stories? Hell, I've been on so many podcasts and I find myself telling the same stories and the same jokes. And like I think finding guys that haven't done many will bring something different to the table for wrestling fans that listen to podcasts.
Yeah, I actually reached out to a booking agency recently of sorts, and they offered me a bunch of names, and a lot of them were current stars that I've interviewed a million times and things like that. And I was like, no, how about you give me Gangrel? Like, I'll take Gangrel.
Yeah, there you go.
Like, I'm interested to see what he has to say and how that would work. You've got, in addition to this podcast, you've got a fitness system. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, so I hooked up with Muscle and Fitness, who have done some articles on me over the past years from Amazing Race and then TNA Wrestling, and they contacted me when they found out I had baby twins, asking basically how I stayed so fit because my lifestyle changed. And, we came up together with these Dad Bod Destroyer videos, basically encouraging dads to still work out, whether it's with their kids or just finding time. And, they're fun little videos to watch, and they're every Monday on their social media and website and everything. 10:30 a.m. they drop every Monday morning. And then Thursdays on Men's Fitness, I do a video called Back to the Basics, which is just some kind of workouts you could do from home. That way you could get a workout in without having to go to the gym. And then, of course, on Tuesdays, I have my Real Robbie E show, which follows me around for the week on Fight TV. So I got a lot going on that takes up my time.
Yeah, Fight TV, they do a lot of great stuff on their platform as well. We see MMA fights on there. Ring of Honor runs shows on, or has their shows available on there as well. Also, I want to give you an open forum to basically just talk shit about EC3 because he's not allowed to talk to wrestling media anymore. So anything negative that you want to say about EC3 or Graham Williams, I'm more than open to hearing.
Wow. Well, let me hear this. What is your relationship with Graham Williams? How do you know about him? Just through social media?
Graham Williams did a lot of great Photoshop work for us for the Matt Riddle podcast that we did, and several things that we've done. And of course, I see him trashing you all the time.
Well, let me just say this. Somehow this guy who has butted in on myself and EC3's war, because me and EC3 love each other and hate each other. We're bitter enemies, but deep inside we kind of need each other to move forward in life. It's really weird. And he has kind of butted in on this, and of course he's taken EC3's side. And somehow this started years ago, and he has basically he's basically almost like the special enforcer in our feud via social media. So we can't say anything without him sticking his nose in business where it doesn't belong. And of course EC3 loves everything he says because it's bashing me. So anyway, we've made that guy famous, and screw him. I can't stand him, and he knows that. But anyway, EC3 is really, he thinks that I'm the biggest scumbag in the world. That here's the difference between me and him. I am a scumbag. He's 1,000% correct. He's 1,000% correct. Granted, I'm not as much of a scumbag as I used to be, and it's in different ways. But anyway, nonetheless, I still am a scumbag. But I admit I'm a scumbag. I'm known for being a scumbag. I'm famous for being a scumbag. EC3 is also just as much as a scumbag as me, but he's in denial of it, and he doesn't let anyone know that he's a scumbag except for me. Did you ever see the episode of Friends with Ben Stiller where he was on?
Yes, I did.
And no one knew how mean he was except for who was it? Was it Ross or Chandler? Or I think Ross was the only one that knew how mean he was, and no one believed him.
That could describe several of Ben Stiller's roles during that period. Even Happy Gilmore. Happy
Gilmore, you're actually right. Well, that is EC3. I'm the only one that knows the real him. Behind closed doors, he just is the meanest, scummiest, dirtiest, sleaziest, and nobody knows it. And he smiles about it, and then once that person is in person, whoever's around him, he puts on the smile, and he knows what he's doing. He knows I got his number.
The thing about Graham is if he wants something to happen, he can will it into existence via Photoshop. So...
good God. You know what? I can't trust him.
So there's a couple of segments I kind of want to bring you into here. There, you are known as one of the perhaps I'm trying to think of the word most decorated users of the word bro in pro wrestling. So we're gonna
Fair
play
enough.
bro or no. First off, we have Diamond Dallas Page, also from that area geographically, user of the word bro. Bro or no to DDP?
Oh, definitely, bro.
Is that just based on his legend status? Do you have any personal experience with him? Just a
Yeah,
respect
I mean,
thing?
when me and EC3 had a podcast he was on, he's a cool dude. I respect the yoga thing. He's from Jersey. He's definitely earned the right to say bro, and he is a super cool dude. So, I mean, you really can't know one of the original bros. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. Zack Ryder, WWE, he made it his identity for a while. Bro or no?
Definitely no.
Definitely
no.
no. Ooh, I like this.
Oh,
Give me the juicy details.
I mean, he's from Long Island, bro. I'm from Jersey. I've been saying bro since I was like 3. But before even people knew what the Jersey Shore was, as far as like the show or anything, bro has always been my thing. You know, people knew me in high school for saying bro. And now, I mean, listen, Ryder was definitely. You could see me and him have our wars on Twitter also, and he was definitely a geek in high school. He didn't have girlfriends or anything, so I mean, he wasn't cool enough to say the word bro. And then when he became this character, he started saying it, but it's just not believable.
I just want to say, in the girlfriend department, it's worked out for him in the last few years.
Yeah, well,
He's done
whatever.
pretty well
He was
for
still a
himself.
geek in high school.
Ronnie from Jersey Shore and JWoww from Jersey Shore. Bro or no?
No. I say no.
Yeah, I'm just going to go with you on that one and not follow up. Matt Riddle, he used to host the Brocast with me. Very popular in the independent circuit, competed in the UFC for years.
I'm going to go with bro only because he could probably kill me in 5 seconds.
That's usually the reaction I get from people when I ask them questions about Matt Riddle. So
Yeah.
here's a controversial one. Vince Russo. People are on either one or the other side of the fence with him. Bro or no in that sense of the term?
Oh, definitely, bro. Come on, he's the man. Vince is my guy. He's the man. I love Vince. He can say bro whenever he wants. You should hear me and him. I was actually just on the phone with him a few days ago, and between our 10-minute conversation, we probably each dropped it about 30. We bring the bro out of each other.
So I used to do a show with him too, and one of my transcriptionists said, like, you have to separate the bros that mean something and the bros that are just him breaking up sentences, because it doesn't feel right to transcribe what he says and not include the word bro in it. People will be suspect if that happens.
This is true. This is true, and that, believe me, that is. I mean, you know, if you did a show with him, that is just if he talks to his wife that way. I mean, bro is just his language.
Oh, our live viewers had a bro count, and it got out of hand at times. Here's one out of left field. Booker T, formerly known as GI Bro.
Definitely no.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that he's not a cool dude or anything, but he's not a bro. A bro is a bro. He's not a bro.
I can get with that. You mentioned Jesse Goddard's. He doesn't wrestle much these days. I saw that he wrestled once a few months ago. Any talks of a bromance reunion on like anywhere?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, he still would wrestle. I think it was right for him, but he's so busy with, I mean, commercials and fitness stuff and TV shows and a soap opera he did. So he's busy doing a lot of other projects. I do think he would still wrestle. It's just kind of like the I live in New Jersey, he lives in LA thing, and promoters flying him out from LA that's the hassle. But we'll eventually have some conventions and signings together at some point. And I still regularly we'll do stuff here or there with DJZ, and we'll kind of do like a revamped bromance.
Nice. I like it. Let the people know where they can follow you on social media.
So on Twitter, Robbie E Impact, and then on Instagram at Real Robbie E. And then don't forget to follow on Twitter at Wyatt Ended, and the podcast drops every Wednesday at 6 a.m. on iTunes and wyattended.com and everywhere else you can get podcasts.